Scott is the purple guy. Now, I don't know when this theory originated, but it pretty much says that, Scott Cawthon, the creator of the franchise, is, William Afton, actually. The evil dude who bodies children. Yeah, and shoves them in suits, I suppose, I guess. People thought he based it off himself, off his own twisted, dark thoughts. This was disproven, though. There was no evidence of this at all. Scott is very, very Christian. I doubt that he thinks about this in his spare time, though I guess he made the franchise, so maybe he does. Fourth one we got, guys, because these are going from worse to even worser. We have Mangle as a dog. I'm very disappointed, because Mangle doesn't even look like a dog. Look at Mangle, guys. Mangle looks nothing like a freaking dog, okay? The evidence for this, Mangle has lack of speech in Fnaf 2, therefore Mangle must be a dog. But I also want to point out a lot of animatronics in the franchise don't talk. I don't know what this proves, like a lot of them don't talk. Apparently also Mangle's sound effects are doggish. They're not. Mangle doesn't bark. Guys, everyone knows that Mangle is a variation of Foxy. Mangle's head looks like Foxy. This theory was also even more disproven when Ultimate Custom Night came out and Mangle did in fact have a voice line.
Don't be afraid. Soon you will look just like me. Beautiful.
Yeah, so then they changed their theory and they said actually Mangle's possessed by a dog and by a kid because of the two heads. I don't understand the obsession. Mangle does not bark. Mangle doesn't look like a dog. Mangle looks like a variation of Foxy, okay? Also, we do actually have one dog animatronic in the franchise known as Fetch. And when you look at that, Fetch looks like a dog. We also got some other animatronics. We got freaking Sparky, bro. Right? They at least look like animals. I mean, I guess all the animatronics look like animals, but you guys get what I'm saying? But for those who care, the more likely reason Mangle has two heads, as said in the games, when you look at the lore, the kids would come through and they'd freaking wreck Mangle, destroy Mangle, put Mangle back together. The more likely reason Mangle has two heads and also looks the way she does is because of how much she was ripped apart and put together. Terrible theory. Pretty much Freddy Fazbear was a Nazi base. Oh my goodness, guys. This might be a contender for the adult theory mentioned in an earlier video, guys. Pretty much this dude goes on to say that World War II occurred between the years of 1939 and 1945, and that Mike the security guard is most likely living in the year 1991. And the animatronics are not only machines, they still have the flesh intact with mechanical suits for a reason before the establishment of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He says that the building was a laboratory that performed inhumane acts, a torture house started by two scientists, John Smith, an American scientist, and Abel Hines, I don't know how to say that, a Nazi scientist. Yeah, they knew a lot about eugenics. A lot of people thought he was crazy, but no, not John. Oh, no, not John. John was like, I bet. That's cool, buddy. Until they went and they bought a factory or whatever in America, I guess. And pretty much, it was a torture house, They used Chica. And a purple bunny, apparently, to start luring kids through the sewers, because apparently adultery vision was really bad. So they took both these suits, freaking a purple bunny and a freaking chicken, whatever they want to call it, bro. Put music in their cavities and stuff and started luring kids into the sewers and then into a torture lab where they were doing experiments because, I quote, he said, it was easier to take genes from a child than it was for an adult. I don't know how true this is, but that's what he said. Apparently their female bodies were weak and fragile, so they were easier to sacrifice. They were hopeless children and they would cause a greater cause. Okay. So apparently most of the kids were useless until they found some twins. Started working on the twins apparently. It was freaking amazing for them, I guess. They reversed the aging. They were happy-de-do-da about that, I guess. And then things started going south pretty quickly, And apparently they started behaving human-like. And that's the origin of the animatronics. Yeah. He has a whole entire part 2 of this theory too. So apparently the kids, they were screaming a lot of pain at night. Nobody cared. I guess they thought it was necessary. They didn't care. On top of that, apparently he made it so Chica, or as he calls it, the chicken with the beak, could freaking detect which kids were Jews. Because apparently scientists hated the Jews anyway. They believed they were the fall of Germany, the big conflict in Germany. It was the Jews' fault. Of course, these guys are freaking Nazi terrorists. But that's what he said. He said it himself. That they used the second endoskeleton disguised as a large yellow duck with an orange beak to lure the children, but had to make covert changes to its programming. Abel continued to despise the people who believed in Judaism because he believed they were the cause of Germany's economic issues at the time and loss in World War I. This gave him a motive for changes in the endoskeleton, specifically changes making the endoskeleton able to clearly distinguish which child was a Jew. Yeah, this is a contender for one of the worst theories I think of. But to be honest, bro, even though he got the Nazi thing right, I can't hate too bad because everything else besides that is actually pretty spot on for you know, and this was all just FNAF 1, you feel me? Like, this was only FNAF 1 out, I'm pretty sure at the time. Like, so this, like, he actually got a lot of things right for the limited things. It's just this has nothing to do with freaking Germany and the Jews and the Nazis. Yeah. But I'll link him in the description if you guys want to go watch his full parts. He explains it a lot more in depth. This was a summary, but that was that. Next up, we have a shorter one that Chica wants revenge. Pretty much this one just says, hey, yo, we stole her cupcake. It's sitting on our office desk in FNAF 1, I believe, and in FNAF 2. This was just disproven, though, because she's also holding a cupcake. People said that in FNAF 1, the cupcake blinked. This was also pretty much disproven, I suppose. In FNAF 2, it does blink. Nobody thinks that the cupcake, that Chica wants revenge for her cupcake, to be honest. She's probably too consumed by her pizza.
Pizza? Pizza! 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 Pizza!
Another theory is that the cupcake is alive. Once again, people do not believe this. I shouldn't say people do not believe it. Some people do believe it. Some people don't believe it. Me personally, I don't believe the cupcake is its own soul, its own child. I believe this is an extension of Chica. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. The cupcake was doing its own thing in freaking FNAF movie, bro. That cupcake was bodying everyone, bro. Cupcake had the most bodies out of everyone in that entire freaking movie, bro. Like, so maybe I'm the wrong one, but who knows? Let me know if you guys think the cupcake is its own soul, or if Chica wants revenge for her missing cupcake. Lastly, we have origins of Golden Freddy. You know, one of the biggest talking points. Nobody really knows much about Golden Freddy. People are skeptical. People want to know more. People love Golden Freddy. It's always thought that he mops every other animatronic. First theory was that he's hiding in the kitchen of FNAF 1 because there's no camera there. This isn't true. When Scott himself was asked about the kitchen camera and about not being able to see Chica, his response was that he wanted to make the game more creepy and you have to rely on sound cues, not because he's trying to hide something in the kitchen. He wanted to make the atmosphere scarier. That is what Scott said himself. That's the only reason there is no camera for Chica in the kitchen. He also said if you type 1987, you can now access the freaking FNAF 1 security kitchen camera. And I remember seeing videos about this where people would type it in and then it would look like they got the camera, but it was really like either a mod or like edited or something like that to show you what was in the kitchen, even though it wasn't real, and people bought it hook, line, and sinker, guys. Like, I don't know. Scott actually updated the game after this, so you get a Golden Freddy jump scare when you try to do it. Now, this second part of Golden Freddy, I actually sort of like this theory, you know, because Golden Freddy's from the future. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, time travel, Five Nights at Freddy's. It sounds freaking dumb, bro. That's really what I thought when I read it. I was like, perfect to include in this video. But, you know, after reading it further, I can't hate too bad, you know. It's definitely not true. So pretty much the theory is that you are actually Golden Freddy. I know I mentioned this in a previous video of the theory that you are Golden Freddy. But the theory is that you are Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy is coming back from the future because you are destined to die in FNAF 1, FNAF 2, whatever FNAF game, no matter what you do. You are destined to die, almost like Final Destination. No matter what, you're gonna die, bro. You're gonna get freaking bodied, okay? So Golden Freddy is you coming back to freaking warn you, you know, that you are gonna die. He's trying to save you, almost like in Little Nightmares 2, bro, where freaking Mono gets dropped down a freaking hole, spoilers, and then freaking the tall man freaking spends the entire game chasing him, trying to get him away from freaking Six, who's freaking gonna betray him and turn him into the freaking tall man in the first place, bro. To warn you, being like, hey, yo, you gotta change the things, because you're gonna die, you're gonna be stuffed in me, this Golden Freddy suit, which is supposedly in the kitchen. Yeah. But once again, this is disproven. Throughout multiple games and throughout multiple security guards you play as, we know the FNAF lore. A lot of the games you play as Michael, who is William Afton's oldest son, who later dies in FNAF 6 in a fire. You know, so it's impossible for Golden Freddy to be from the future and us to be Golden Freddy when we're Michael Afton, if you get what I'm saying. How long does the average person live? You'd probably say 70 to 100 years, right? Well, you'd be dead wrong, because William Afton lived to be over 1,000. That's this theory. That William stayed in the safe room until the year 3023. I don't even know who comes up with these, but apparently there's actually a handful of people who believe this. I guess rumor has it that bro's still there. So moving on to the next horrible theory is that Michael Afton is Fnaf 3's Springtrap. The evidence the user used for this was there was a strong similarity between them, whatever that means, and apparently voice lines. However, it doesn't actually matter as this theory was not received well at all by the community, and Scott himself debunked it. You know it's bad when Scott debunks this. Like, Scott has left some pretty wild theories run loose out there. For example, Bonnie being Elsa, which I mentioned in my last video, though maybe that one's so far-fetched it didn't even deserve a response. Now, number 3, we have Purple Guy and Pink Guy are 2 different murderers. Yeah, okay. I genuinely assumed they just used 2 different shades of purple because they couldn't get them to match right, but maybe that's just on me. Most people, however, seem to be under the impression that the so-called pink guy is just a younger William Afton who's a lighter color to stand out against this purple background, which I believe makes way more sense. I don't know who people think the second killer is. I guess maybe Michael Afton, but that's literally no evidence to support any of this. Now guys, I know those 3 are quick, but I had to save this one for number 4 because this is generally the worst theory. Like, I don't know what people are smoking or if I'm missing out something, but this theory is called the adult theory. Okay. I'm gonna try to keep this as PG-13 as possible because this theory is actually insane. So this theory is that the sister location is either a restaurant with a hidden entrance to an adult-themed location, or the sister location is a name for an adult-themed location. He says, let me talk about the building itself. The gameplay for what we can gather will take place underground. The introduction scene in the trailer is very clearly a platform which is moving down. No matter if you see it as an elevator or whatever, it is definitely moving underground as you can see the light in the windows moving upwards. The phrase deep below ground is also stated in the trailer. Like, okay buddy. The location has child themes throughout props such as posters, figurines, and party lights. However, it is not safe for children to roam around. There are exposed wires, shaking machinery, and floor level ventilation shafts. Now, if we want to take that theory into account, we have to acknowledge that the same can be said about literally every single Five Nights at Freddy's game. If we don't assume anything from outside sources or our own minds, we can also say that the location includes the show stage, the animatronics, and the spotlights for their characters too. So we can say the location has childlike themes, but it's still, as mentioned previously, clearly not safe for children themselves to walk around. Maybe that's a stretch, but that's what I can see. No, buddy, that definitely is a stretch. What are you trying to say? That there are adults that are yeah, like I can't even finish this, bro. Now he goes on to say, I'll talk about the characters. Maybe this will get my theory across. Okay, there's a female little girl animatronic with pigtails and a red dress called Baby. You don't call a character who can talk, walk, sing Baby. Maybe it's because she looks like a baby, buddy. Unless there's something else going on. In my opinion, baby is a word used for either actual babies or is used as a nickname for a lover. If you stop looking at the game face on, you should be able to agree with that. If you don't, then whatever. But Laura is a half-naked ballerina. She has very exposed... Okay, yep, this is a hard read. With merely a blue strip of plastic covering the top and front of them. I'm not making that up, and it's been a point of discussion for ages. She dances, moves up and down repeatedly, keep her eyes shut at all times, and has a standard makeup which we are pretty used to by now. The Lord does not exist to entertain children from what I can tell. Ballerinas were a lot more than that. I guess it depends what kind of ballerinas, my man, but I am gonna say I've been to dozens and dozens and dozens of ballerina shows. And some of them do, genuinely. I also never considered Balor, like, undressed. I always assumed that it was just a shirt. Or maybe even a lot of ballerinas were skin tone matching things. Have you been to a ballerina show, bro? Funtime Foxy and Funtime Freddy are not explicitly designed to be adult themed, nor do they seem to do anything. Yeah, I'm not saying that word. I won't deny the name Funtime is dodgy, however. That's still something which seems off. The hand puppet and the lack of Funtime Foxy's hook is also worth mentioning, but other than that, they seem innocent. Okay, so he's saying right here that, yeah, at least 2 of the animatronics are innocent, which, if this was really a place for adults to go, why would 2 of them be innocent? Like, let's address that real quick, too. Also, you didn't even address the marionettes. What about those guys? Are those guys also supposed to be helping around here? Or no? Are those just out this theory, too? Like, you've excluded 3 animatronics from this theory. You can't handpick 3 animatronics to be in this location and then say, yeah, this is definitely what this place is about. Now let me talk to you about the themes and hints we have been given, he continues. Don't hold it against us. You don't know what we've been through. Please stay in your seats. The show is about to begin. Deep below ground. Secrets don't keep. There's a little of me in everybody. Come on, I'm getting increasingly worried that people are very stubborn with their own theories or repetitive beliefs that Scott wouldn't go there. That we might just be ignoring the obvious answer. Is that obvious? I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking it. You're definitely overthinking it, buddy. You're definitely overthinking it. He says, "You're joking. How are people not seeing the adult implications with these phrases? This is not subtle. This is very clearly talking about something more than a pizzeria." Let me clarify. Scott would go there. I need to make sure people understand that I'm not predicting animatronics having thingies with each other or with the player in this game. Instead, we will be witnessing the aftermath of digital ritual of fetishism and abuse. Is that normal? Heck no, but it's not going to be a normal game. You don't know what we've been through? We know a lot. We know what a lot of animatronics have been through. We know on Fnaf 2, the animatronics who are presumably haunted have each installed with facial recognitions to determine whether someone is a predator or not. The word is used, not criminal, not a vandal, not a murderer, a predator. Okay. So, I have a few things to say about this. So, when the animatronics say, "You don't know what we've been through," as we're playing this location as Michael Afton, they could be very correct. Because as far as I'm aware, Michael didn't fully know the extent of what his father was doing. So, to sit here and say, "Oh, but we do know, well, we're the player, we have the full picture," Michael did not. So, to the animatronics, Michael probably didn't know. Just like every single other security guard we played as, or every kid we played as, only had a small picture. That's like saying Gregory from Security Breach freaking knew what the animatronics were going to. I doubt Gregory even knew how the animatronics were made. I doubt he knew that they were spirits or whatever. Like, he just thought they were AI robots, as a kid would. I don't think Michael knew what the animatronics had been through, if that's what you're saying. Also, the word predator. I think the word predator makes more sense than murderer or ever. I think it carries a heavier implication. I know what you're saying, like, oh, it's a predator, they prey on children. But a predator can mean way more than like doing weird things with kids, bro. This video is getting weird, bro. Oh no, bro. We know about children being lured, killed, and stuff in disputes. We know about bullies pushing a child in animatronic's head, letting him die in hospital, having nightmares of robot human hybrids with hundreds of teeth. We know about restless souls trying to escape facilities. We know about a man who was punctured into a suit, bleeding out in a room that was made for people to die in silence. But we don't know what they've been through. Once again, Michael Afton didn't know. The only thing Michael knew, as far as I'm aware, is that his brother, he was part of the reason his brother died. I think that's as far as Michael knew at this point in time. Is that, you know, he was picking on his brother got put in a suit, and it crushed him. I think that's literally all Michael knew. Why wouldn't Scott do worse? Why wouldn't he go there? Are you that naive to dismiss a theory with evidence because you don't think a game developer would mention something like this? Once again, I think this evidence is very, very shabby at best, bro. Like, you picked a few animatronics and then said, yeah, this makes sense. They have speakers in their chest. There's a control panel to control robotics. We have just been given a timetable, which was likely hinted at animatronics have been booked and privatized. This is more than just an animatronic adult club. Yeah, about that, you can also rent things for freaking birthday parties. Like, I'm not sure if this is necessarily evidence. This is a theory. It's just a different one. I'm not going to put it down anyone's throat. Think for yourself. Don't make your own discussion. Don't pretend anything is canon until it's confirmed. We're all thinkers. This is more to this game than you might believe, and I'm just trying to work around what we've got, which is a lot. And come on, don't call me sick. Yeah, I just disagree with it, you know, unless it gets proven. I don't think there's any evidence for this, you know. I also do understand that horror games can include things like that. I mean, I'm praying it's not, because I would be completely, I would be so, I hate when horror games do things like that, because at some point then it becomes too real. Like, those are real world problems. But another reason I have for debunking this is Baby in FNAF's this location is literally, one, shown to be a baby, two, is shown to have an ice cream compartment in her chest for children. If this was really for 18 plus, there would be no need for an ice cream cavity in her chest, because why would an adult need that? It's also shown in snippets and in voice dialogue that they did have a party with Baby, with other kids. And that is when the other kids left, and Emily, Afton's daughter, got put inside the suit. Baby grabbed her because she was programmed to grab kids when they were alone, stuffed her in the suit. No one could hear her screams when they came back in from the party. All the kids were laughing and everything. So it clearly isn't an adult location. Like, I know this was before this location, so maybe they've changed their minds by now, because there's just no evidence at all. The only thing that I've seen here is that you say Balore's maybe a little underdressed, but at the same time, I don't see her like that. Like, I don't know. I've really never even noticed that until you mentioned it, and I googled a picture. I've literally just assumed it's a shirt. I still assume it's a shirt, but I don't know anymore. Paper plate doll is the soul of a missing child. Yes, the paper plate doll, staring at you throughout various FNAF games, is actually possessed. Well confirmed it does indeed have its own AI, I find it kind of hard to believe that's due to it being possessed. I would more likely believe this broom and trash can and pizzeria simulator is possessed. If it is possessed, however, I hope the kid doing it gets revenge, because I'd be so salty if my peers got Bonnie, Freddy, Sun and Moon, Roxy, Foxy, and I got a paper plate. A paper plate. I would be the absolute laughingstock of that friend group. From what I understand, how animatronics get possessed is when the body of a kid was shoved in them, and I mean, look at this plate. Like, I don't know. William must have incinerated this one because you lost me. This is nothing compared to the other theories ever, so moving on. You are Golden Freddy. Honestly, not gonna lie, I can't hate on this theory that much, and it's definitely not because Golden Freddy is actually tough. Like, imagine being Golden Freddy. You're one of the strongest, most respected animatronics. So I can't rip into it too much, even though it's very obviously not true. Next up, tell us we're Springtrap. Oh, wait. They already did. Anyway, I've scoured the internet for any type of evidence or theory supporting this, as I'd like to be fair and couldn't find anything except the initial commenter, so I guess Buddy just has a wild imagination. Out of almost every animatronic cover, Golden Freddy is definitely one of the ones the vast majority of the community still seems heavily stuck on, as there's still very little lore surrounding him, with a handful of people saying he never existed in the first place, so I guess only time can tell, and if I'm proven wrong years down the line, I guess I'll eat my shoe as an apology. Now, this next one is kind of sweet, even if there's literally no evidence. Balloon Boy has a girlfriend. One commenter said it best. I see JJ and Dee Dee as best friends or sister and brother, nothing more than that. Fnaf is a horror game, so I don't have any ships for animatronics. To that, however, other commenters replied it would have been Balloon Girl. When you guys find this animatronic, please let me know, because I've never even heard of Balloon Girl, and I hope she's not real, because imagine not one annoying balloon kid laughing at you, but two. I mean, their whole family tree already irritates me. Balloon Boy, Dee Dee, JJ, Helpy, and Bonnet are just complete nuisances and are way more trouble than they are worth. Honestly though, I do have to agree that I always viewed them more as family, and if anything, they're animatronics. I don't believe most of them have the emotional capacity to fall in love with each other, especially not Balloon Boy. I also think we need to keep in mind that these are literal children. And though this is just my opinion, I've always assumed Balloon Boy to just be an annoying little brother. I mean, be for real, the person in him has to be no older than 8 years old, and all he's capable of doing is laughing. Like, literally his game mechanic in every game is to stand there laughing at you because he already knows you're dead, and his mechanic in the FNAF movie was simply just existing. And the only actual word he knows is hello. I'm pretty sure Balloon Boy is brain dead. Respectfully. Apparently there's a wider theory that's been circulating the internet, however, that Balloon Boy is possessed by a 3-year-old who took interest in him and would watch him every day in the back room. Then, apparently Balloon Boy trampled this kid and the marionette attached them to each other, but if that wasn't enough, then apparently the kid's mother was looking for the child, and so, you know, they got rid of her too and attached it to Balloon Girl, which by what I can tell is just JJ, and the reason she's under your desk is because she's looking for her son. This theory would honestly make more sense to me though. I still don't really necessarily believe the whole mother part of it. Honestly, this makes these two dating seem even weirder, so let's please not entertain this any longer. Well, I guess this can be seen as sweet. I just find it hard to imagine Balloon Boy getting on in the closet somewhere with a Balloon Girl, or his own mom, so we're moving on. Next up, apparently, Chica is actually a duck. Yes, Chica, the chicken, is a duck. Why, you may ask? I don't know. Like, I've tried spinning this everywhere in my head. She's even called Chica. Like, the main complaint is her beak, with people saying she looks like she's from Sesame Street. Now, if I was Chica, I wouldn't take that disrespect. Apparently, though, this was a common take for the first game. Now, however, most people do commonly accept that she's a chicken and state she looks like a chicken. But for some reason, there's still a few diehard fans claiming she's a duck, even years later. And all I have to say to that is, nuh-uh. Don't worry, guys. This theory really redeems this video. This one is real. No arguing. FNAF is based on a real-life incident. Wait. I don't know if I read that right. Five Nights at Freddy's is based on a real-life incident. So the story goes that two men, William and Henry, opening a diner, then William deciding he's a serial killer, luring kids away from their parents in a costume, then guiding them in a staff room, and shoving their corpses in suits, which then become possessed by bloodthirsty animatronics who make it their life goal to get revenge, where he then gets jumped by a bunch of ghost children and Springlocked, is based on a real story. Let me Google this, cause I must be missing something. Scrolling, more scrolling. Yeah, I see nothing. The closest thing I see is apparently sometime in 1990 there was a shooting at Chuck E. Cheese, killing 4 and injuring the 5th. The killer was killed by lethal injection, but once again, inspiration is different than based off. I heavily disagree with this theory, however, as the lore from what we know from different games doesn't really fall in this direction whatsoever. I feel like it's not enough to simply say, hey, some people died at Chuck E. Cheese, and it makes this whack FNAF story make sense, but who knows, maybe I'm the slow one. The next theory is one of the absolutely worst theories so far in this video, and yeah, it's that Freddy is Mike's mom. Yes, Freddy is Mike's mom. Guys, it's all clicking now. Everyone, the pieces are finally falling into place. Freddy is a boy, and when the power is off, Freddy realizes that Mike is not asleep, and he plays a song for him to sleep. The whole FNAF 1 game is just Mike's mom trying to get into the room, into him, and he's probably just scared, so he never lets her in. I don't know, I'm just trying to make this make sense. I don't even know how this theory started, This theory lost me. I don't even understand it. Like, I'm trying to give you guys an explanation, but like, I really just don't know. I tried to search more, but all I get is that fans arguing and Google bluntly saying this isn't true. However, most fans believe the soul to be possessing Freddy is a kid named Gabriel. So yeah, that's definitely Mike's mom. Mike's very male, childlike mom. Yes, this video is very strange. Next, apparently Toy Chica is a guy and Toy Bonnie is a girl. Now, I don't know how you could possibly view Chica as a boy. You're telling me Chica looks more like a boy? Nothing wrong with a femboy, but like, that's the first thing you assume? The commenter continues that she doesn't look feminine in FNAF 1, and to that I'd say she has a feminine name, and she's a freaking animatronic. Like what? Now only male animatronics can be boxy now? They go on to say that when she was conceived, Scott probably made her a guy, as if Chica was born on a hospital table, and then complain about things like her eyebrows? I feel kind of bad for Chica, honestly, because this child was attacked and shoved in a suit, and out of everything now, her eyebrows are being criticized. I doubt she's had much time to go to the salon, so... And then they go on to say how different their friendships would be if Chica was a male. Would it? I literally believe absolutely nothing would change. They're still killing it at the end of the day, though I will say maybe we get less images of fan art of her doing weird things, which I actually do find pretty annoying. Like, she's a robot, can y'all be normal? As to Toy Bonnie being a girl, I can slightly see this one more, as when I first saw him, I did indeed think he was oddly pretty. Also, Bonnie is traditionally a girl's name, meaning beautiful, but Scott's called Bonnie he, and every other version of Bonnie is a he, so this Toy Bonnie is honestly just a pretty version of Bonnie. Now, for some reason, I stumbled into a form of tearing Bonnie apart for looking too feminine, so I won't repeat what literally any of them said, because apparently they have nothing better to do than to argue over the gender of a robot, but I will say, he's a confirmed male. Next up on this list we have Foxy is Phone Guy. No, he's not. This theory states that Phone Guy is Foxy in both games and never intentionally harms the player in the first game. If you look at him too much, he comes down to tell you it's alright because he thinks you're being paranoid. However, his voice box is broken, all that comes out is a scream and Mike dies of fright. If you don't look enough, he thinks you've been hurt and comes to check on you. Again, you die of fright. If FNAF 2, Phone Guy tells you that flashing the light will stun Foxy. In reality, he told you that so you'd flash him if you were alive. If you have the Freddy mask on, he thinks you're an animatronic that killed his friend and he attacks. If he doesn't see the mask and you don't flash him, he assumes you're dead and kills the attacker, which is of course still you. Also, Phone Guy completely calls Foxy his favorite. Yeah, I'm confused. If Phone Guy was Foxy, would he not just tell you that? So why in the world would he need to send Foxy down to check on you? Can't he just call you? Like, I know the messages are pre-recorded, but this feels like a whole lot of effort when you know, maybe a dang phone call could have been more effective. And why would Phone Guy think you're being paranoid? Even though for most of the nights he pretends everything's dandy, he definitely isn't stupid. Annoying, but not dumb. This theory is pretty stupid. At number 8 on this list for the worst theory, we have Balloon Boy is fake, aka part of your imagination. Now, my biggest problem with this theory is if he was part of imagination, how does that equate to the flashlight not working? Is Foxy also imagination? Surely the flashlight would still work. No. You see him standing on the cameras from night 1. What makes Balloon Boy any part more of my imagination than any of the others? Is JJ also just my imagination? I just find it hard to believe that Balloon Boy could possibly be the only one in your imagination, as he functions pretty much the same as the others, and even has his own spot on the custom nights. Surely he wouldn't if it was only imagination. Like, I'd believe Golden Freddy more than this, simply because Golden Freddy does not in fact have his own spot on custom night in FNAF 2, and he's sort of like an Easter egg in almost every other game. For the last worst FNAF theory on this list, yes, you guys knew it was coming. Toy Bonnie hid Toy Chica's beak because orange is the opposite of blue, and so he hid it in the vent because he was sad about it. Yes, guys, you heard that right. This sounds like a theory made by a literal toddler, and I feel as if there's no need to try and disprove it. Like, come on. Bonnie ripped off Chica's beak and hid it in a vent because he was sad? There must be other vents not connected to the cameras because I ain't never seen her beak just chilling on the floor in Bonnie's vent. The more widely accepted theory, however, is that Toy Chica removes it herself so she can eat the night guard better. So, yeah, that's just fantastic. The first game is set in a pizzeria. We need a slow clap or a drum roll or something for this one. This is literally called the pizzeria theory, which suggests that FNAF takes place in a pizzeria. Guys, we solved it. The mystery that has been plaguing the FNAF community all these years has been solved. Yay. It's not like it's literally called Fazbear's Pizzeria in literally almost every single game. Like, almost every single one. The first game definitely does not have any posters broadcasting this, and or a chicken animatronic who clearly is obsessed with pizza. I pray that no one finds this guy who figured out this masterful FNAF theory, because they will probably go missing the same as everyone else who figures things out that they shouldn't. Like, I'm pretty positive this took every ounce of brain power they had to come up with. Moving on, however, to the second most obvious FNAF theory, which is that Springtrap isn't a threat. Purple Guy's spirit possessing it is. I always hate this way of thinking, like guns don't kill people, people kill people, and water doesn't kill people, drowning does. It's honestly flat out stupid, but the same can be said for every single animatronic. Quite literally, most of their deaths literally result in a spirit possessing them. To say you shouldn't be scared of Springtrap and instead you should be scared of William is honestly, in my opinion, stupid. As of at this point in time, they're literally the exact same thing. It is impossible for Springtrap to not be a threat, the same as it is for literally every other animatronic. And I don't understand what people are trying to get at by separating the two. Like, what do you gain by painting Springtrap as an innocent animatronic when even when he wasn't possessed, it still springlocked the crap out of this man? Clearly, it was threat enough. I don't know if some of y'all want to feel better about yourselves for simping for this man, but I'm not letting that slide, okay? Next up, guys, we have one of the best theories I've ever heard. Listen carefully because this one will change the way you view the world. Fnaf will never be the same once you hear this theory, so this stays between you and me. The endoskeleton is dead. Yep. What? You guys didn't like that one? Thanks for this riveting information. It's literally a robotic endoskeleton. It was never even alive. I guess my shoe is dead then, too. As I look at it, and it has no pulse. Honestly, I have nothing left to say about this theory because, like, why are you guys stating the obvious and then phrasing it as a FNAF theory? Don't get me wrong, I'm all up for theories, and I firmly believe that everyone is entitled to their own. That's part of the fun of the franchise, but some people are stating these, like, with mic drops as if they ate hands down. Give me that dang plate, because you ain't nothing but horse manure. For the fourth most obvious theory on the list, and no, it doesn't get better, we have Foxy can sing now. I'm not sure what they mean by this. Do they mean, like, opera singing? Because he can't? I'd love to hear him try, however, but I'm going to assume they mean he can sing as in FNAF 1 where he does his whole bum 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 thing. In that case, we didn't need anyone to point this out. You literally just need to play the game. Or watch a video. Or spend 5 seconds on Google. And lastly, drumroll please for the most obvious FNAF theory, which definitely needs stating. Freddy is a robot. Wow, really did it with this one, guys. Time to release our findings worldwide. We will be known as the people who discovered that Freddy Fazbear himself was in fact a robot, and I guess not a real bear. This theory will make the world stop spinning. I'm sure of it. I feel like out of everything on the list, this has to be by far one of the most obvious ones. As wasn't this like the whole selling point of the game? Like, we don't get much lore explained to us through the franchise, but the lore that we did get is pretty laid out. Hey, there's someone killing kids and the robotic animatronics are alive, so yeah, Freddy is a robot. Shaking my head.